Blizzard Entertainment made a name for itself by taking big swings, developing video games whose day-one offerings paled in comparison to what the experiences evolved into 5 to 10 years down the road. World of Warcraft set a particularly high bar, so much so that the studio spent years and an untold number of resources attempting to replicate such success on multiple occasions. One such World of Warcraft-like adventure, codenamed Project Titan, remained in production for 7 years before company leads finally pulled the plug. A small crew within Blizzard wouldn't let their extensive time and effort be for naught, however. From the remnants of the class-based FPS MMO, arose Overwatch, another new IP that ultimately left an indelible mark on multiplayer gaming. Launched to much anticipation in May 2016, the original Overwatch took the world by storm. Its rollout as a premium title surprised even the most insightful of analysts. But Blizzard's aggressive approach with in-game purchases quickly cleared up any confusion. To the dismay of fans, divisive monetization practices marked only the start of Overwatch's various controversies. The forced free-to-play update that rendered Overwatch unplayable to make room for Overwatch 2 tipped the scales, and many would argue things progressively went downhill. Blizzard's sudden cancellation of a promised PvE campaign mode, alongside disappointing battle passes and the esports league's questionable outlook, poisoned the well for those who wanted better for the sequel. If and when the future will start looking brighter seems wishful thinking for a contingent of the community, especially since other Blizzard games demonstrate the studio's habit of vacillating between the high and low ends of quality content releases. This is the tragedy of Overwatch.
Maybe sometimes I look back to Titan and where we got a little squirrely under the weight of this giant idea we were chasing. And everyone starts going off to their own camps and building their own part and just trying to, protect the...
Project Titan entered production circa 2007, taking root as a large-scale MMO and pseudo-sequel to World of Warcraft. Instead of dropping players into a fantasy land, Titan depicted Earth in a not-so-distant future where humanity staved off alien threats. Sources who shared development insights with Kotaku claimed users would have aligned with one of 3 factions, each vying for control of the planet as it remained locked in a Cold War. During the day, the protagonist held down an ordinary job, then engaged in cloak-and-dagger military tactics after hours. Compelling premise aside, Blizzard co-founder and then CEO Mike Morhaime told Polygon the team never found the fun or passion in Titan. The game slipped through the cracks in May 2013, the consequence of a failure to control its lofty ambitions. 140 staffers immediately felt the effects of the MMO's cancellation. Blizzard shuffled 80 developers onto other internal projects. 20 more acted as long-term loans to different work efforts that lasted anywhere between 6 months to 2 years. The remaining 40 employees, led by game director Jeff Kaplan, were given weeks to devise a brand new idea. Piggybacking off of what Kaplan described as Titan's daunting, almost devastating concept, the group of 40 kept Earth in mind for the setting of its next project. An apocalyptic angle seemed a strong enough bet, so Kaplan and company looked to other games that explored a possible future on Earth, including Fallout and The Last of Us. When a near-future backdrop boasting more realism entered focus, the former Titan crew surveyed select Battlefield and Call of Duty entries. All proved far too bleak, inspiring a redirect centering on a hopeful approach. Thus, Overwatch blossomed into an experience that viewed near-future Earth through a positive lens. The varied environments pervading the early days of World of Warcraft helped establish the game's visual language, with developers bearing in mind the fatigue players felt when bombarded by the oppressive visuals pervading WoW's Burning Crusade expansion. Thematically, Overwatch emphasized a future worth fighting for. Series creators figured that if players were to spend hundreds of hours in an online shooter, it needed to be welcoming and inclusive. A fantasy is greater than reality mantra guided many design decisions as a result. Hence the Oasis map portraying a technologically advanced version of Iraq, hypothetical idealism that clashes with the war-torn landscape typically reserved for Iraq and interactive media. Blizzard similarly fixated on approachability when crafting Overwatch's playable heroes, which partially spawned from character concepts and class ideas designed by concept artist Arnold Sang and lead designer Jeff Goodman. Project Titan's influence also played a major role in this regard. In fact, during an interview with Eurogamer, Kaplan drew a direct line from Project Titan's jumper class to the first hero created for Overwatch's roster, Tracer. The game director noted that because Titan had been an MMO, its jumper class thrived on numerous progression abilities, such as shotguns and knockbacks. However, the system's cluttered and confusing qualities encouraged a simplified methodology for Overwatch, whereby abilities manifested based on how well they complemented one another. And from there, Blizzard found it was a matter of building out a hero with unique personality traits and skills, rather than a character class. Still, Overwatch borrowed heavily from Titan's class system. The jumper, in particular, dual-wielded machine pistols courtesy of Kaplan's love for Modern Warfare 2 at the time. Pulse, bomb, recall, and blink abilities were designed for it too, all of which later defined the Tracer character. Several more Overwatch heroes owed their origins to the cancelled MMO. For example, Widowmaker evolved from the Ranger class, as did Bastion and Soldier 76. Titan's Juggernaut class begat Reinhardt, though this evolution started and stopped at the big guy with a shield archetype. A purposeful emphasis on diversity provided another dividing line between Project Titan and Overwatch. According to Kaplan, embracing differences constituted one way the team created playable heroes who felt accessible to players from all walks of life. Diversity and representation, becoming a hot topic throughout the production, encouraged an interest in challenging stereotypes, evidenced by a character like Ana, an older Egyptian mother who plays the role of support hero, and ex-army sharpshooter. Interestingly enough, the background information that informed Blizzard's Overwatch characters wouldn't be delivered via traditional means. Speaking to Kotaku at BlizzCon 2014, Kaplan cast doubt on the development crew ever fashioning a single-player campaign, arguing that while the heroes were cool when combined, he couldn't imagine them playing well in a narrative sense as individuals. Lots of in-match chatter supplemented the storytelling in lieu of a classic campaign, with casual exchanges of dialogue fleshing out interpersonal relationships between characters. The studio also aimed to deliver more story content in the same format as Overwatch's Pixar-esque announcement trailer.
Yeah! That was awesome!
I fear no man, but that thing, it scares me.
Hoping to avoid Team Fortress 2 comparisons, Jeff Kaplan pushed the Overwatch creators to have no less than 12 heroes and 3 different maps ready in time for the new game's BlizzCon reveal in November 2014. The director believed 9 or fewer playable heroes would have invited one-to-one character parallels by fans and members of the press. The public wasted no time proving him right. Blizzard's PvP shooter reminded many of the first-person shooter from Valve, thanks in part to its colorful and stylized cinematic trailer. The in-game action offered something completely different, centralizing an international task force called Overwatch as the would-be saviors of a war-torn Earth amid a global crisis. Because of the group's failed peace-restoring efforts, heroes remained a necessity, thus inspiring the role players would adopt throughout the course of the online experience. Much about the shooter hit the web during BlizzCon, including a snapshot of characters like Hanzo, Reinhardt, Symmetra, and Tracer. But Blizzard made sure to keep a few cards close to its chest. For one, publisher Activision Blizzard hadn't decided whether the game would launch as a premium title or adopt the free-to-play model. Uncertainty concerning potential console ports further eluded early conversations about Overwatch. Developers answered these pressing questions at BlizzCon 2015, wherein hopeful players learned Overwatch would release across PC, PS4, and Xbox One in 2016 as a full-priced experience, the base game costing $40 on PC and $60 on consoles. Given the incredible success of its collectible card game Hearthstone, pundits expected Blizzard to reinvest in the free-to-play market. It instead followed a pay-to-play route not unlike Counter-Strike Go. SuperData chief executive and analyst Joost van Drunen posited the free-to-play model's infancy on consoles as the motivating factor behind the premium pricing. Newzoo chief Peter Warman labeled it a paid beta period and a business-savvy choice since blockbuster free-to-play releases often proved risky. Yet in discussing the matter with VentureBeat, Warman predicted Overwatch would eventually remove the upfront price tag and rely on its already confirmed in-game purchases. Microtransactions, namely loot boxes, became integral to Overwatch irrespective of its retail cost, and players wouldn't fully understand how deep into their pockets the game could dig until its May 2016 rollout. The in-game store exclusively sold cosmetic items packaged in randomized loot boxes, meaning buyers only learned what they were unlocking after paying for and opening a box. 2 boxes cost $1.99, 11 ran for $9.99, and 50 randomized boxes bore a $40 price tag. Since all 21 playable characters launched with 54 collectible items apiece, users had a pool of 1,134 cosmetics to pull from. None of the unlockables impacted gameplay, and Blizzard assured the loot boxes, earned when leveling up, were identical to those of the purchasable variety. However, the grind revealed itself as a time-consuming hassle. Forbes crunched the numbers in the weeks following launch, noting that the average Overwatch match lasted around 7 minutes. Players unlocked 1 loot box per level, with each level, after 23, requiring 22,000 XP to progress. With the game rewarding between 500 to 6,000 XP per match, Forbes calculated the average user would level up every 7 matches and, in turn, earn a loot box every 50-plus minutes. Those $2 pair of loot boxes equaled well over 90 minutes of gameplay time. The 50 boxes for $40 were the equivalent of approximately 43 gameplay hours. Simply put, Overwatch's microtransaction store was selling time above all else. The hero shooter dipped in and out of the loot box controversy exacerbated by EA's Star Wars Battlefront 2 upon its November 2017 arrival. Mike Morhaime argued Overwatch deserved no place in the contentious conversation. In a sit-down with Game Informer, the CEO said the then-burgeoning concerns about randomized rewards facilitating gambling didn't apply to the Blizzard-developed game. The studio had no choice but to conform to government bodies across the globe, though. In accordance with mandates from the local gambling commission, paid loot boxes were removed from Overwatch in Belgium in August 2018. Overwatch players everywhere lost access to this particular purchasing option on August 30, 2022, as Blizzard ceased the sale of loot boxes ahead of Overwatch 2's debut that October. Still, Blizzard logged a few wins in its post-launch support column throughout the original Overwatch's run. Developers clarified early on that all future heroes and maps would launch as updates at no extra cost. Not only did the retail price paired with free updates look good optically, but Kaplan rationalized the move as one preventing the development focus from centering on the business model. Building a fun and inviting online experience took precedent, the executive assured. Divisive microtransactions aside, the Overwatch community considered free content additions a highlight. Year 1 introduced 3 brand new heroes. Year 2 added fan favorites like Doomfist and Moira. The third year of support saw 3 more characters join the fray. And the last 2 hero releases, Sigma and Echo, were spread across Year 4. Regular seasonal updates further guaranteed access to extra maps, game modes, feedback-inspired gameplay adjustments, and much more. On top of the critical praise and Game of the Year accolades, the Blizzard-run esports community, Overwatch League, bolstered the shooter's dominance in the multiplayer scene. Jeff Kaplan divulged during a Polygon interview that the QA crew ignited pro sports talk when it used the budget for a celebration to organize an in-house tournament. Blizzard's internal competition and public interest ahead of launch motivated the founding of the Overwatch League in 2017. 12 city-based teams participated in the inaugural 2018 season for a chance to win $1 million. Hefty winnings earned by the dominating London Spitfire. Suffice it to say, Blizzard's ambitious goals for the league proved well worth the effort, considering 10.8 million viewers around the world tuned in to watch the grand finals. A hunger for more fueled the Pro League's expansion for the 2019 season, wherein another 8 international squads jumped on board. Whereas the buy-in initially required a $20 million investment, reports alleged Activision Blizzard asked that new franchises pay between $30 and $60 million to join. All 20 teams could draft up to 12 players, all guaranteed a salary of at least $50,000, alongside healthcare benefits and a retirement plan. The San Francisco Shock emerged from the 2019 season as league champs, taking home the $1.1 million prize. Such an explosive year for the burgeoning esports competition should have marked one more rung up the ladder for Activision Blizzard. Instead, 2020 engendered unpredictable turbulence, representing ground zero for the Overwatch League's unclear future. The third season's first few weeks of action experienced a burst of enthusiasm. Blizzard had taken the competition on the road, hosting fan-filled live events for matches in the home bases or home stands of teams across Asia, Europe, and North America. Ideally, each squad would host a pair of weekend homestand matches, with more regular season events sprinkled in for a grand total of 52 homestand weekends. The rapid spread of coronavirus spoiled these plans, forcing the league to run matches online and institute a revised playoff system wherein all 20 teams could qualify for the postseason. Competitors in Asia and North America participated in separate tournaments, everything coming down to 2 victors in each region appearing at the grand finals in South Korea. Through great effort, Overwatch League's 2020 season ended with the San Francisco Shock walking away as champions for the second consecutive year. 2021 saw Blizzard reintroduce the playoff format from the previous season. However, a few changes entered the fray for good measure, chief among them being the decision to remove the dividing line between the Eastern and Western territories. The revised format works such that each squad participated in 4 qualification games to seed 4 tournaments. Those who came out on top in the West went head-to-head in an elimination bracket that ultimately determined the best 2. The same rules applied for the Eastern territory. A pair of groups from the Western Hemisphere eventually faced off against Asia's top 2 in online matches, where the Shanghai Dragons secured the Grand Finals victory versus the Atlanta Reign. Overwatch League's 5th season would prove a different beast. Gone were the days of competing in the ever-changing world established in 2016. The 2022 season began on an early Overwatch 2 build, mere months ahead of the sequel's highly anticipated arrival on PC and consoles. Notably, the next chapter treaded down a path that alienated both the esports organization and the folks who played at home for fun.
Reverting personality, Echo Online.
Monsieur, does this mean Overwatch is back?
Yes, we are.
Support for Overwatch stagnated in the 2 years preceding Overwatch 2's November 2019 unveiling. The Winter Wonderland event in 2018, for instance, lacked the excitement of previous seasonal celebrations, conspicuously missing a new mode while primarily offering hero skins that many considered underwhelming. Community impressions in online forums called Winter Wonderland boring, labeling it another disappointing and recycled event lacking any decent content. In addressing these critiques the following year, game director Jeff Kaplan revealed that developers didn't feel all too differently, specifically recalling how one of the Junkenstein's Revenge designers, Mike Heiberg, had pitched fun Halloween ideas that Blizzard sidelined for one reason alone: development on Overwatch 2. It wasn't long after the first game shipped that Blizzard began conceptualizing the next iteration of Overwatch, thereby splitting the team's focus. Kaplan admitted that juggling live game support while simultaneously building a brand new entry caused more than its fair share of internal pains. At the time, the decision seemed wise since the light at the end of the tunnel shined bright on PvE content that would come in the form of a campaign mode and replayable co-op hero missions. Despite being reduced to limited time modes in the first game, supposedly to avoid player fatigue, PvE ran deep in Overwatch's DNA. Aaron Keller, who became game director late in Overwatch 2's production, divulged as much in a May 2023 blog post, reiterating that the franchise had spawned from the failed FPS MMO Project Titan. While moving away from Titan to find Overwatch's identity, the crew swore to one day return to that scope. Overwatch in turn operated on a crawl, walk, run plan, such that the first title constituted the crawl phase. A dedicated PvE mode represented the walk part of the equation, and as yet unexplored MMO elements fit within the run designation. Keller claimed PvE was built into the fabric of Overwatch early on as a result, with developers believing the content's payoff would be the true realization of the original Project Titan vision. That vision saw Blizzard experiment with PvE before work on the sequel began in earnest. When the ball officially got rolling on Overwatch 2, the studio divided its development into PvP and PvE sections, a structure designed to launch every facet of the game all at once. In the end, the schedule for producing PvP content lasted longer than intended as these efforts persisted, culminating in the eventual decision to deploy PvP first. But before any such decision came to pass, Blizzard made promises, a number of which wouldn't be kept. Blizzard Entertainment quietly endured a season of significant change during the period wherein Overwatch developers were weighing their options for the best path forward. Then current and former staffers interviewed by Kotaku under the condition of anonymity claimed the legendary studio spent much of 2018 initiating cost-cutting measures in preparation for a lean 2019. Allegedly, this course of action included paying employees to leave, reducing the budgets of teams not directly attached to game development, and expanding the financial department. The Career Crossroads initiative predated these measures, offering lucrative severance packages to 5-plus-year veterans who voluntarily exited the firm. In 2018, however, Blizzard extended the offer to quality assurance and IT workers despite hiring for new Diablo and Overwatch projects. While this aspect of the mission to scale down stirred the status quo, those in the know were far more skeptical of Activision's growing influence in the financial wing. The vertical that traditionally held a so-called invisible function suddenly started appearing at meetings. One longtime staffer said it was around this time that business, marketing, and finance folks began calling the shots on strategic decisions, like having a say on the technology used for future projects. Chief Executive Armin Zerza reportedly spearheaded the company-wide cultural shift, having held the role of Chief Financial Officer at Blizzard before graduating to Chief Operating Officer late in 2017. The World of Warcraft developer brought several business-oriented people from Activision and consulting company McKinsey into the fold on Zerza's watch, many of whom lacked the priorities of those with backgrounds in game production. Even after the Activision-Blizzard merger in 2008, the pair operated separately. Bobby Kotick helmed the Activision arm, letting annual Call of Duty releases drive much of its success. Meanwhile, Blizzard co-founder and president Mike Morhaime ran the house that Warcraft built, thriving on fewer titles that kept the studio afloat with regular content updates. To the chagrin of Blizzard staffers, Activision's grip continued to tighten once Morhaime resigned in April 2019 to be succeeded by J. Allen Brack. The company's future had become a matter of great concern for those who'd long worked within its walls.
Many of you know Jay from his 12 years working on World of Warcraft. Well, you think you know Jay, but you don't.
I was curious, I see a lot of mechanics that we've kind of been begging for in Diablo 3 in this. Is there any plans to make this playable on PC, or is this strictly mobile forever?
Are there any? The current plan is to be on mobile, both Android and iOS. We don't have any plans at the moment to do PC. Do you guys not have phones?
Yeah, you guys all have phones, right?
Following the disastrous Diablo Immortal announcement at BlizzCon 2018 and the Blitzchung controversy in October 2019, Blizzard returned to the 2019 convention with hopes of getting back into the community's good graces by finally unveiling Diablo 4 and Overwatch 2. The latter reveal was accompanied by a lengthy cinematic entitled 0 Hour, showcasing the eponymous crew facing off against Omnix. Game director Jeff Kaplan informed ceremony attendees that an overhauled engine powered the sequel, allowing for bigger PvP maps, enhanced graphics, and upgraded character designs. All classic heroes, game modes, and maps were scheduled to return with a spate of new additions in tow. Kaplan's promise of a ton of PvE content garnered the most attention, ostensibly justifying the sequel's existence. Without disclosing much in the way of concrete information, The lead developer teased a complete story experience bolstered by 4-player cooperative missions that would drop users into the roles of Overwatch members against Omnic forces and threats previously unseen. Hero missions would further augment the game's cooperative offerings, enabling players to level up their heroes and unlock customization options that toggled brand new abilities. Understandably, the PvE-centric news rested at the nexus of fan enthusiasm. And for those who couldn't shake the feeling that Overwatch didn't necessarily need a follow-up, Kaplan explained the primary goal was to truly redefine what a sequel meant. The new era and the old wouldn't be separated as a result, with Blizzard working to guarantee a shared multiplayer environment where no one felt left behind. Better still, the developers insisted all past progress, cosmetics included, would carry over without issue. In other words, the studio was prepping for a merge of the Overwatch 1 and 2 clients to avoid fragmenting the player base. But it took some convincing before the Activision Blizzard executives signed off on the content release plan, specifically because of the company's long-standing tradition with sequels. Kaplan said in a Kotaku Australia interview that he personally approached the idea from a player-first standpoint, then managed to persuade his bosses that alienating Overwatch 1 users and forcing them to join the new game wouldn't be a smart move. This method, paired with everything else the developers had in mind, would make the sequel's launch the greatest moment in Overwatch history, Kaplan declared. Between late 2019 and early 2021, then, the studio went dark, hunkering down to complete its ambitious vision for the eagerly anticipated shooter. But by the time Blizzard was ready to showcase more of the experience, the franchise's public-facing ambassador departed the studio. The coronavirus pandemic prevented Blizzard from hosting its annual fan convention in late 2020, yet the show resurfaced as BlizzCon Online in February 2021, where announcements for Diablo, Hearthstone, Overwatch, and World of Warcraft occupied center stage. Overwatch 2 enjoyed a blowout of fresh details as developers walked series faithful through the gameplay adjustments inspired by feedback from the BlizzCon 2019 demo. New enemies like the Breacher and Stalker Omnics received fine-tuning to feel more engaging, for example. A sneak peek at the progression system benefiting the co-op-driven hero missions attracted plenty of attention in its own right. Blizzard's first PvE breakdown noted that progression would manifest as a talent system, allowing users to level up and play their favorite heroes in various ways. And to the delight of many a fan, the studio insisted the creation of hundreds of replayable hero missions would circumvent concerns about tedious grinding. Overwatch 2's BlizzCon Online showing also featured a small tease about the story, written to delve deeply into the myriad mysteries behind the second Omnic Uprising. Sharing precious little, developers explained that every story mission would include intro and outro scenes, further proof that Blizzard intended on taking narrative integration more seriously the second time around. Details about a branching dialogue system hammered the point home. Exciting news for fans eager to see in-universe relationships fleshed out through banter. Not so exciting news hit the airwaves a few months later when game director and public face of the franchise, Jeff Kaplan, left Blizzard after a 19-year tenure for unspecified reasons. Assistant game director Aaron Keller stepped up in his stead, writing in a statement that, in spite of the leadership shakeup, production was continuing at a good pace. Keller's words held less weight as time pressed on. While the publisher never so much as shared a release window for Overwatch 2, a November 2021 SEC filing revealed Activision Blizzard's intention of shipping the follow-up installment in 2022. The earnings report additionally confirmed the targeted launch window's push to 2023 or beyond. To get the game out sooner, Blizzard decoupled PvE from the upgraded PvP experience, so the much-touted hero missions would arrive at a later date. The move called for a mea culpa on Keller's part, delivered in a March 2022 developer update video. In this video, Keller acknowledged the poor form of abandoning Overwatch 1 support in favor of producing Overwatch 2. Instead, the focus should have centered on delivering regular updates to the live game. Keller emphasized that unleashing Overwatch 2 PvP sooner and postponing PvE meant the team could exceed its usual rate of content drops, with the then upcoming launch set to include a new 5v5 mode, additional maps, new heroes, and a ping system. And it all kicked into high gear with an alpha build for Blizzard developers and Overwatch League players in April 2022, followed by a public PvP beta that June and July. Days before the second beta drew to a close, Blizzard unloaded another surprise by unveiling Overwatch 2 status as a free-to-play game slated for an early access release on October 4th. The early access nomenclature merely signaled October as the beginning of the Overwatch 2 experience, but the free-to-play model engendered several changes to the game and its development process going forward. For one, loot boxes had no place in the sequel. Battle passes and seasonal updates would fill the gap, since the move to free-to-play ensured the crew could deploy new content not long after producing it. Blizzard staffers noted in a Reddit AMA that adjusting to Overwatch's reorganized status quo required some internal restructuring. Supposedly, the team had grown to 3 times the size of the first game's crew at launch, reassuring information for players worried that PvE might slip from its promised 2023 release window. Overwatch 2's tumultuous debut made the wait for the much-coveted PvE content less than ideal. The mode's eventual cancellation retroactively exacerbated all launch-related stressors.
I see the command ship! Looks even bigger than the one from Rio!
Overwatch 2 replaced the Overwatch client on October 4, 2022, inviting Nintendo Switch, PC, PlayStation, and Xbox players to join heroes new and old on a revamped adventure. Day 1 and the weeks that followed proved incredibly bumpy, though. That users needed to submit a verifiable mobile phone number through battle.net for SMS Protect requirements frustrated the player base, with Blizzard claiming it implemented such drastic measures to combat cheaters, a problem the studio believed would increase tenfold because of the switch to free-to-play. Lead software engineer Bill Wernacki defended the controversial prerequisite, saying that even after weighing the pros and cons, it was decided that formidable security against disruptive behaviors counterbalanced any potential frustrations. Players who struggled with linking their phone numbers to their accounts disagreed. To a degree, Blizzard walked back its SMS Protect policy soon thereafter, in that Battle.net users who'd played since June 9, 2021 could jump into Overwatch 2 without verifying a phone number. A slew of other unforeseen issues plagued the sequel's early days. DDoS attacks locked thousands of people in endless queues on launch day. Crashing errors and general instability similarly hindered the experience. Widespread reports also circulated of the in-game inventory partially or totally resetting, preventing players from transferring Overwatch 1-related data and items. Fortunately, Blizzard resolved these troubles in a timely manner and compensated millions of users by hosting 3 double XP weekends and giving away a cursed Captain Reaper legendary skin and health pack weapon charm for a limited time. With launch woes out of the way, other more pressing issues set in, specifically those concerning the ousting of loot boxes. Blizzard doing away with loot boxes removed dice rolls from the equation, while the introduction of premium battle passes and a consistently updated digital storefront alleviated risk. However, some players and critics condemn the new monetization system for being worse than randomized rewards. One main hang-up manifested as the useless trinkets included in each battle pass, which ranged from sprays and weapon charms to name cards and player icons. Users accessed epic skins and a new playable character after grinding through higher-level tiers, yet many unlocks left dedicated players feeling as if they'd wasted their time and weren't fairly rewarded. And whereas Overwatch 1 offered 4 random items per level, Overwatch 2 gifted 1 predetermined item for every Battle Pass tier. Worst still, if a player's favorite hero didn't count among the seasonal Battle Pass offerings, they were less likely to benefit from resulting rewards. One Reddit user summarized the problem by noting that the Battle Pass system separated the haves from the have-nots, therefore punishing those who refused to pay by not providing the same cool skins earned by players who forked over cash. Battle Passes also reinforced the idea of uniformity, wherein everyone unlocked the same cosmetics as opposed to loot boxes rewarding unique items based on luck. Discourse about the divisiveness of Overwatch's revamped monetization persisted for months, especially as new seasonal updates came and went. But the sequel's real turning point hit in May 2023, once Blizzard announced the cancellation of the long-awaited PvE-driven hero missions.
This game at the level that you deserve, it's clear that we can't deliver on that original vision for PvE that was shown in 2019. What that means is that we won't be delivering that dedicated hero mode with talent trees, that long-term power progression. Those things just aren't in our plans anymore.
Aaron Keller and executive producer Jared Noose broke the PvE news during a mid-season stream on May 16, 2023. The initial cancellation announcement sparked much confusion, as the wording led to the belief that PvE in its entirety had landed on the cutting room floor. On the contrary, Blizzard only shelved the cooperative hero missions with their intricate talent system. The promised story mode, on the other hand, would still be delivered as planned, expected to arrive no sooner than Overwatch 2 Season 6. Keller and Noose explained the sudden halt in development by confessing the scope had grown overly ambitious, culminating in a loss of focus. Eventually, it all came to a crossroads, at which point the team needed to either continue working on the PvE offerings whose production had no end in sight, or scale it down as a whole. Noose said the latter seemed the best option, considering the amount of work necessary to operate Overwatch 2. In essence, PvE siphoned more than its fair share of resources from the rest of the game. For those skeptical about the timing of the news, Keller admitted to having trouble pivoting away from a vision that just wasn't working. He stated that while some aspects showed promise, the crew never made headway on assembling all of the elements needed to ship a polished, cohesive experience. Fans were livid, once again questioning the justification of Overwatch 2's existence. So Overwatch 2 is just some map updates, a couple heroes, and a push game mode? One user asked in a popular Reddit thread. Others tried looking on the bright side, pointing out Blizzard's plans for narrative-based events, co-op features, hero mastery missions, and limited time modes. But the community felt the blow, and it hit hard. Harder still when a leak detailed why things went so unexpectedly awry. Days after the mid-season live stream, YouTube channel Sir Swag uploaded a video demystifying the contributing factors behind the turn of events. At its core, the Overwatch group's PvE ideas proved an audacious undertaking. Had it succeeded, the 3 or 4 abilities comprising each hero's usual skill set would have ballooned to an overwhelming 40 to 50 talents per character. These were ostensibly the foundations of an entirely new game, the bedrock upon which creators of the MMO-esque Project Titan would have finally realized their vision. Seeing it through to completion necessitated a long, meticulous process, wherein the scripting phase became more complex and time-consuming than building brand-new Overwatch heroes from scratch. At the point of its cancellation, then, PvE was nowhere near complete. The Blizzard insider with whom Sir Swag spoke didn't work on Overwatch 2 directly, but knew well those who deeply understood the team's operations. According to the source, PvE 1000% owed its abrupt collapse to an upper management and executive issue. Blizzard's profit margins constituted the be-all and end-all in this regard, allegedly beginning with Diablo Immortal's meteoric success on mobile platforms. The Diablo title, built in conjunction with NetEase, raked in a reported $2 million on its best day, drastically shifting the expectations of Activision Blizzard's C-suite executives. For the suits at the top, PvE wouldn't generate a lucrative recurring revenue stream, making it significantly less relevant when stacked against the service model benefiting PvP content. In addition, COVID-19 had already impeded the mode's progress, influencing the shuffling of some team members to the PvP crew. The source said Blizzard's reneging on its work-from-home accommodations in early 2023 further hindered PvE development, though Jared Noose denied such speculation prior to the Sir Swag video's debut. The publisher's contentious return-to-office policy supposedly resulted in a number of resignations, many of them PvE developers whose absence precipitated more missed deadlines. Blizzard employees invested approximately 6 years of their blood, sweat, and tears into Overwatch's PvE in one form or another. The insider stressed that those involved wanted to see it completed, yet insufficient resources severely stifled any chance at success. Apparently, the problem stemmed from Blizzard's poor management, which starved the PvE staff of resources and failed to adjust the goalposts to compensate. Hitting milestones on time became impossible. Hence the substantial trimming of Overwatch 2's once highly touted PvE content plans.
Winston?
What's on your mind, May?
Do we have enough people for this mission?
As long as we stick together, we'll be fine.
Overwatch 2's PvE controversy and a Steam release that turned into the worst-rated game on the storefront weighed heavily on the August 2023 arrival of Season 6. A roadmap outlined the season's bullish schedule, drumming up hype for the support hero Illari, 3 story missions, Battle Pass offerings, Flashpoint mode, hero mastery missions, and new player progression. While it marked Overwatch's biggest update since the first game's debut, a necessity given the months-long content drought, Season 6 Invasion didn't go live without lingering controversy. The advent of story missions ushered in the long-awaited PvE co-op mode, yet were paywalled behind a $15 bundle guaranteeing permanent access. Once again, Blizzard sat on the receiving end of the community's ire. In response to one viral post, a disillusioned Twitter user jeered, "Imagine paying for content that was promised with the whole premise of Overwatch 2. Someone else lamented how Blizzard canceled PvE and decided to sell us the parts they finished. The final verdict on the season seemed mixed at best, and impressions ran the gamut. A contingent of fans enjoyed the Battle Pass and couldn't be happier about the story-centric advancements for Overwatch lore. Others thought the story missions too short and labeled the Battle Pass the weakest of the bunch. All things considered, it proved a step in the right direction, though the masses would not soon forget the blemishes of the not-too-distant past.
But you have to realize, Overwatch was shut down for a reason. It's time to move on.
If Overwatch 2's launch was a topsy-turvy affair for the general public, those in the Pro League experienced just as much turbulence, if not more in certain respects. The 2022 season of Overwatch League saw Blizzard replace the classic game with an early build of its successor, whose myriad changes loosened up the gameplay and ushered in a wave of possibilities for DPS players. 3 new playable heroes joined the ranks as well: Sojourn, the versatile damage character, Junker Queen, the health-draining tank, and Kiriko, the first new support hero added in 3 years. On top of gameplay and hero changes, the season also mixed things up with the inclusion of Push, a map mode that replaced Assault's standing in the regular lineup. Barring beta sessions and scrimmages, pros had little time to practice outside competitive matches, but the competition kept things interesting at the very least. The homestand model returned in North America, and the league again divided its 20 teams into Western and Eastern divisions. Each squad had its work cut out for it, too. In the end, the Dallas Fuel secured a 4-3 victory over 2-time champion San Francisco Shock at the Grand Finals. Oddly enough, amid all the excitement, public interest dwindled as viewership numbers nosedived. Despite the stream for the 2022 Summer Showdown running much longer than the 2021 event, 2022 enjoyed 51,000 peak viewers and 28,000 concurrents, whereas the 2021 Showdown hosted upwards of 48,000 concurrent viewers. The dip likely manifested courtesy of unforced errors on Activision Blizzard's part, beginning with the 2020 switch from Twitch to live-streamed content on YouTube. Optically speaking, the abuse and harassment allegations leveled against the company's executives and lead developers didn't help either, and they certainly played a part in cutting down on plans for the eSport League's expansion. The scaling down culminated in more than one round of layoffs, the first occurring in March 2021 when Activision let go of 50 esports employees because of a pandemic-induced restructuring. Activision's esports division laid off another 50 staffers in July 2023, this time due to a pending overhaul of Overwatch League operations. One former employee told The Verge the firings came out of nowhere, then stated that while a bare-bones crew could finish out the Overwatch League and Warzone seasons, the company was completely unequipped to internally support anything esports afterward. SEC filings that surfaced a few months prior indicated Activision looked at its esports business with uncertainty even before the second round of layoffs. In the filing, the company admitted its pro leagues couldn't escape the headwinds, negatively impacting the operations and, potentially, the longevity of the leagues under the current business model. Attempts to overcome these challenges were in the works, yet Activision acknowledged the likelihood of its efforts proving for naught. The layoffs were the tip of the iceberg after a long period of hardship, escalated by the settlement of a lawsuit the U.S. Justice Department brought against Activision Blizzard for its alleged violation of antitrust laws. The agency claimed the corporation wrongfully suppressed the salaries of esports players across Overwatch and Call of Duty leagues, behavior Activision agreed to abstain from in the settlement. That teams in both pro leagues reportedly owed a combined $400 million in delayed payments to Activision following COVID-19 complications probably compounded the esports business's many troubles. and reason dictates said troubles likely multiplied when the Overwatch League's outstanding fees were waived in June 2023, mere weeks before the layoff news hit the web in July. This all came to a head when in November of 2023, Blizzard formally confirmed the Overwatch League's closure. A financial report released earlier in the same year revealed that all participating teams would vote on an amended agreement following the league's final season, with a $6 million termination fee if they chose to exit. This scenario ended up coming to fruition when the Toronto Defiant announced its departure first, with most teams reportedly voting to leave as well. A mere 2 months after this news hit the airwaves, Blizzard made it known that the discontinued Overwatch League would see new life as the Overwatch Champions Series, a competitive tournament that was formed from a multi-year agreement between Blizzard and the controversial Saudi Arabian-owned ESL Faceit Group. A partnership that only drew more ire from the community when Blizzard continued to announce additional layoffs to its in-house esports division, letting go of key figures like Matt Morello and Zoe Schmidt. All told, the future of the game's esports scene looks rather dubious. Die-hard fans would argue the same holds true for Overwatch in general. By March of 2024, any lingering hope for a promised expanded PvE mode in Overwatch 2 was dashed, as Blizzard confirmed it would not be developing further PvE content. A decision that disappointed many fans eager to explore the game's lore through prospective story-based cooperative adventures. The discontent culminated in May 2024 when Blizzard announced that it would be removing the Hero Mastery Gauntlet PvE mode from the game, citing a lack of player resonance as the main reason. This only added to the frustration, a seeming confirmation that whenever the company shifted its development ambitions for Overwatch, it resulted in content being taken away from the game. The steady release of new heroes, maps, and game modes keeps the wheel turning for now. Still, it begs the question, how long will the live service model remain sustainable? In an industry obsessed with growth, though the phantoms of unforced errors and failure peek around every corner, it's hard to predict what the next several years have in store for the likes of Overwatch. For the sake of series faithful, for the sake of developers who've spent 15+ years chipping away at an idea to sculpt their ultimate vision, here's hoping the greed that seemingly held Overwatch hostage won't expedite its demise.
Always remember, never accept the world as it appears to be. Dare to see it for what it could be.
Thank you for watching our video. We'd like to take this time to thank, by name, the generous Patreons who have pledged to our Hall of Fame reward tier. Disco Cobra 2013, Ice Cold Water $1, Karu, Sauerkraut, Shuan Chinwin, and those currently subscribed to our producer reward tier: Adam Miller, Brock Piviroto, Darirap Sigurdsson, DCX NG, DJ Redden, Eric Bedio, Fallen Asterisk, It's Peanut Butter, Jake, Jan Christofferson, Matthew McLaughlin, Roberto Nieves, Sir Alex, C. Rob Kaysen, Taylor Moten, Your B. If you enjoy our content, please consider subscribing to our channel and backing us on Patreon.